Morning, everyone. Danielle Spatz from California, always. Danielle Spatz interviews since 2020, bringing you fantastic people, tennis people, different activities, different venues, different sports. Danielle, good morning. Today I have a very special guest. Nick Bollettieri, rest in peace, was a very important figure in my life, coaching career. So this is a tribute to him, bringing Danielle, his daughter, to my podcast. So stay tuned. We're going to start the conversation in few seconds. I'm going to invite Danielle to join the... Hey, good morning.
Hello.
You were so quick and efficient.
Well, I learned a lot of that from my dad.
I can tell. I can tell.
Yeah.
So, by the way, thank you so much, Danielle, for accepting the invitation to my podcast. Thank you.
I'm honored. And what's really special is that, as I told you, when I went back, I totally remembered you. So that's nice. All
I
the
hope
connect, all the connections through the years come full circle back around.
exactly. Hi, everybody. Your friend is there joining.
Eileen,
Yes.
my bestie, we just got done working out.
Wow. Yeah, I can see you guys are very busy, very active, and I love that. Uh, how are you?
I'm good. One of the things that, my dad was really good about was motivating. And he was, okay, so tennis, you can start at age 3, like I did, but you can play till you're 100. So, that's tennis. And dad was always great about that. But he was always really great also at motivating you, whatever you did in life. And so I've had a complete turnaround in the last year with my life. I moved back to Sarasota, and Eileen, my bestie, and I, we're doing some podcasts, and her kids went to the academy. And her son, Akin, you see, I'm promoting him right here. We do his workouts every day. He is wonderful. He went to the academy and he was motivated by dad a lot, and he reminds me of my dad. So, he kicks my butt on his workouts. And so, starting life again, I went back to school, starting some other things that I love. And, dad was a great supporter of anybody. Not just tennis. He just really changed a lot of people's lives. And I take that with me through all the hardships, through all the joys in life. And it's not easy being 57 and starting, over again and in every way possible. But, I learned a lot from both my parents. My mom was awesome too. I think that's important, as a kid, as a teenager in your 20s, our ages, you can do it. You just have to, stay positive. And dad, it ain't easy, baby. He loved that. And it wasn't easy for him. He always smiled. He compartmentalized a lot. He was able to shut things out. I'm not really good about that. I have anxiety. Dad did not. I mean, he really didn't. He compartmentalized and he just went on. Um, Dad had money in his life, a lot, but as many times he was broke because he gave everything away, scholarships, cuts in tuition. He sold the academy way back when I was in college. So, he had hardships, but he never, ever was down. I don't know anybody else like that I've ever met. He was always positive. So, I think when we talk about dad's legacy, we also have to address that because he was really incredible in that aspect, being positive and motivating people off and on the court, never giving up. I think that's really important.
Listening to you is a pleasure, and my style of interviewing is making short, simple questions and just listening.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So, how about you? Your Have you played tennis? How many kids Nick have? I mean, how many children?
Well, Dad was a little complicated in that area. So Dad was married 8 times. Um, and that was not an easy thing for us, especially the daughters. I will tell you, and I get a little emotional with this, there's a couple great things that Dad did besides help produce champions. And he did that with a team too. I always like to make sure that people know that. It wasn't just my dad. I think that's really important. He had an entire team that worked with him off and on the court for that. So I always like to say that because it always takes a village in life. You have to have support. So that's something. Um, so my my siblings and I were so close. And many times, as you know, when parents decide to remarry
Mm.
8 times, siblings aren't close. There's a lot of friction, but we are so close. And I am so thankful for that. Just really close. We can tell each other everything. We're super supportive. But dad's marriages were hard on all of us. But again, that was my dad. So what we have gotten out of life and being positive and supporting each other and just understanding that dad was dad. And the way I look at it is life is very long and it's very hard for everyone. So if you can find love, you take that love. How I differ from my dad is that you need to learn from each marriage, from each relationship. And dad had a hard time with that. So, and I'm
Well,
honest. I'm very honest with
sorry,
that.
Daniel, why you think he had a hard time?
Dad, he did not like to be by himself. That's one thing. um, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, not so much in the marriage area, but dad did not like to be by himself. So he always liked to have lots of people in the house. It was never just he and his family. I mean, there were starting from the beginning at the academy: Jimmy Arias, Kathleen Horvath, Carlin Bassett, Lewis Marks, me. Did I say Jimmy? I mean, there were so many people always living at his house. Out to dinner. It was never just me and my dad. It was 10, 15 people, pro players, parents, the up and coming juniors, somebody dad would pick up off the street, come to dinner. I mean, it was always, he couldn't be by himself, Daniel. And I don't know if it's, some people contemplate life and really think about deep things. I don't know how often dad did that because he was always,
Mm.
and I don't think he thought a lot about learning from the past. I think he was just always gung ho. Um, so I think being alone was hard for him. My opinion. We do talk about this in our family a lot. But then again, how could he have helped so many people on the court and off the court, especially off the court? I mean, I look at everything he did with Arthur Ashe, everything
Mm.
he's done with the Boys and Girls Club, thousands, tens and thousands of people. And if dad wasn't dad, and if dad really sat down and thought about this mistake he did, this mistake he did, this mistake he did, would he have been able to just keep going like he did literally all the way up until the day he died? So that's one of those things that we're pretty accepting about, very accepting about, because that many marriages was not easy. But I have my siblings, so that they're the best. And my sister has kids. They're the best. My children, my girls, are so close to my sister's siblings, even though there's an age, my sister's kids, even though there's an age difference. So we're pretty great. We're a pretty good family.
Uh, your dad was, of course, we had a great recognition worldwide from all the tennis community, but also he was criticized
Mm-hmm.
for his sometimes strong, presence, ego, a little bit of arrogance sometimes. How did he handle, for example, when I read that John McEnroe said, Nick Bollettieri doesn't know anything about tennis. Actually, Nick added in his testimonials in his first book, My Aces, My Faults, what John McEnroe said. What is your point? Now, looking back, right, how do you feel reading that, listening to that?
That doesn't bother me at all. Didn't bother Dad at all. Dad always said whatever media he got, whatever criticism he got, he was always fine with that. And John was right. He did not come from a tennis background at all. I mean, he played football, and so in that sense, he was right. Dad did have, I don't know if I would. Yeah, he was ego. I mean, he was, the Italian stallion. That's what he was back in the day before cell phones. He was, when truckers talk to each other on. Yeah, he was the Italian stallion. So I know we would go in some of his sports cars, and he would look for policemen on the way, like taking me to college, where he sped like a maniac in his Ferrari, taking me to look at some colleges in Florida, and he was known as the Italian Stallion. That was his name. So he was Italian. He thought he was very successful. He was, it was exciting. But he again he was able to and this wasn't good, because that whole Andre Dad thing was hurtful to me too, because I did not agree with the way Dad dealt with that at all. I could see where Andre was very hurt from that. Dad wasn't great with relationships like that. He loved to write letters to us if his kids, our feelings were hurt about anything, or if he didn't pay attention, or if he missed an event, a graduation, something, because he was at a tournament. He preferred to write letters. He wasn't good. He wasn't a great communicator. He loved us. So, when we go back and you look about things, especially that were in the media, the thing with Dad and Andre, was a lot of that was in the media, because that was not a great decision by my dad. Now, I will say that, they talked after that throughout the years. They worked some things out, but I really think that up until the last couple of weeks, Dad waited to talk to Andre, and before he passed away, and Andre called. They talked, and about a week and a half later, Dad died. And you hear a lot about people. So I'm also a death doula. That's one of the things that I do. I'm an end of life doula for companion animals and for people. I went back to school and learned. I got my certification for that. You learn, one of the things you learn is, a lot of people, you have to be able to forgive others before you pass away, but you also have to be able to forgive yourself. And I think after that call with Andre, he felt like he could forgive himself. He talked to him one last time. Andre knew, I hope, how much Dad loved him, even though Dad had made that mistake. And Dad loved Andre so much, like a son. That never ended. That never ended.
Sorry,
So I think he
Danielle,
regretted that.
sorry. Now looking back, you will say Andrew was his favorite student?
I don't really know if Dad had a favorite. He loved Andre's personality. I mean, there's
What
nothing
you
that
can
he
tell
brought.
us? Do you when Andrew was training at the academy, do you were, I mean, around the academy, you were
Yeah,
playing
in and
tennis there? You
out.
were.
And traveled a lot of the summers with my dad. I mean, there was a lot of, you had Anna Kournikova, come on, totally charismatic from a little girl. She had that charisma, she had that, sex drive, she had that personality. Then there was Andre. But then there were people like David Wheaton and Jim Courier and Tommy Haas and Max Murney, who are Monica Seles, who the kindest, the nicest people who kept in touch with dad until the literally until the end. Um, and Serena's tribute at my
Mm,
dad's celebration of life, and Monica coming to just this past August when Tommy had that get together,
mm.
and Monica flew in. And Tommy arranged all of that himself. It's not just dad didn't really have a favorite. There were just certain players that were just so awesome in their own in their own way. And I still keep in touch with some of the players. I helped run I did run the elite group at the academy while I worked there those years. And people like Max Murney was one of the students, Tommy Haas, the list goes on, Gabriel Trifu. But it's hard to say a favorite because there were just a lot of great people. And that's another thing when the
And
academy.
Danielle,
Yeah.
sorry, do you think they were all very grateful to your dad?
No. No. The ones I just named,
Mm,
yes. And I won't go back and talk about, but you have some ones that were really grateful and other ones not so much. But that's life. And that's also
mm.
personality. And I'm not judging because people give what they know how, what they've learned in their life too. I talk a lot. I think I'm, pretty caring. I'm pretty outgoing, but that's the way I was raised. So I'm not judging for those that weren't because, they came from a different background, a different road to where they were with their relationship with my dad. But yeah, big difference in some of the players, but to be expected.
Yeah. So, what was the last time, Daniela, you were visiting the academy?
uh so in August, when Tommy Haas
Mm,
organized the weekend get together, let's see, I think it was no, it wasn't August, it was December 5th through the 7th, something right in there. So I was there because one night it was a big party in downtown, or a party in downtown Sarasota, and then the next day there was 50, 100 of us at the academy. The tournament is Eddie Heard now switched names. I don't even know the name of it now, but the trophy is in the shape of my dad. And
mm.
so there was a tribute to him. And then we were all around the statue that's of my dad that actually I put together about 20 years ago or so. And so that remains at the academy. Some speeches, some things like that, all awesome. And some of the old players, Kathleen Horvath, Jimmy Arias, and Grossman, some of the old ones came in. We had actually a lot of uh, different eras that were there, which was really nice. So some way from the beginning, and then all the way up into more recent academy students.
How do you remember the relationship with Maria Sharapova?
Dad loved Maria. Maria used to walk. I'm a big animal person. I do a lot of animal rescue, and Maria used to walk the dogs with me. My dogs stayed at the academy while I was at work there. Um, Dad loved Maria. She was very nice. Very nice, friendly. They were close. She's she was a nice girl back then. They all started at such a young age, and you see how everybody progressed over the years. And teenagers, that's hard, living at the academy and
Mm.
being away. And a lot of times people forget that they see how the pros. This is just my opinion because I was no pro player. I was a junior mediocre. But they forget that they were teenagers going through all the teenager stuff too. I don't know. Anyway, let's see what else. I wanted to tell you a couple
Sure.
fun things.
Go ahead. Say
Okay,
whatever you want to say.
so it was always so I traveled with my dad a lot. So after college, I did a little volunteer work, and then I went back to the academy and worked. And so I was my dad's assistant for a while, and I also traveled with him a lot with the players. And Dad was really funny. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but so we would, travel. We would be in the big international airports, and Dad had an entourage depending on which players we were with. He loved to do naughty things like walk down the airport and do these humongous Italian burps. And then he would look at me and he'd be like, damn it. I mean, when I tell you huge, everybody would turn around and look. So he was funny like that. And he loved to do, okay, of course you can't do this now because you'd probably be thrown in jail for germs, but he would take straws and he would make these spitballs, little
No.
tiny, tiny spitballs in his mouth, tiny. And then even on airplanes,
No.
airports, airplanes, he would spit like 20 feet away. And you would see these spitballs all over the
Wow,
airplane. He
Nick.
pretended he was sleeping. And people would be looking around, looking around. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get beat up or something. But Dad was funny about things. And I think that's another thing people don't realize is they were really funny. And what about the water balloons that Dad and Andre's brother Phil and Fritz now used to launch off? That was one of Andre's favorite things way back when, to launch water balloons. You can't do anything like that anymore. You're going to get thrown in jail. But, back then they had a blast. It wasn't, just hard work. Everybody had it was fun. It was fun.
I can tell.
That was fun.
Danielle, I saw videos of Nick coaching until the last moment, right? He was probably alive. What you can tell us about the last days of Nick's life? I mean, how he was spiritually, emotionally.
Um, so Dad has this beautiful estate up in Vermont, and he actually was there and wasn't doing well. So he would go there, and once he got into his 80s, he would spend some time there in the summer. So he wasn't doing well. So he was up there with Cindy, his wife, and my two brothers, and they couldn't get him back. So his health was just not good at all. So one of his dear friends flew him privately back, and that was very complicated. And so he came back, and he was not doing well at all. He had a lot of issues with his kidneys and his blood pressure dropping so low that he could not get out of bed. He had to stay in one position because if not, his blood pressure would just drop all the way and he would faint. So that was really hard for Dad, to stay in his bed. You know how my dad was. He was high energy. But once he was here, his doctor had adjusted his medications. There was some physical therapy going on here. Dad was extremely upbeat, and he did better for a while. We actually even thought he would, at one point, be able to get out of bed and maybe start driving again. But that didn't happen. He was still cognitively great. What is amazing is he liked to still do deals. But what was the best is that I have never, there were people literally flying in from around the world. I mean, this was just to say goodbye to him every single day for 6, 7, 8 months. So Dad passed in, oh my God, he passed in, what's wrong with my brain?
December
December.
2022.
So he came back mid-August from Vermont. And Daniel, when I tell you, some days he had 30 people flying in from everywhere, coming to say goodbye and share stories and tell him thank you for touching their lives. And yeah, there were pro players and there were top college players, and but there were also people who he helped in so many ways with drug issues, addiction issues, with marital problems. Dad could have had some help in there, but with getting into a college, with employment. would just cry because, you know, you, I always, I knew what heart my dad had. I grew up at the academy. I grew up with him. But when you see people come in and they fly in from literally on the other side of the world to say goodbye to somebody, even if it was for an hour, it's just it's pretty incredible. And then those people, we talk about my dad's legacy, and it's not just what people uh, don't understand in life is it's not me having scholarships, at the academy. That's not the real legacy. The real legacy is what people carry in their heart about my dad and what they can give back. Then one person is nice to one person, then that person is nice to another person, then that person gives an opportunity for another person, because at the beginning my dad helped them. That is the legacy in life. It's not huge things. It's carrying on that little tiny bit that you can do, and that's really important, and really important in this day and age too. When somebody is kind and nice even when you were younger, you remember that and give somebody else a chance as well. But
Danielle, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want.
okay.
Please feel free. But is anyone, any former student that you uh, you were expecting to show up or to call your dad those days, and she or he didn't do it?
No, nope, everybody did.
Okay,
From Anna, Serena, Venus, Andre, all of them. They all did.
perfect.
They all did.
So you think or feel that the biggest, I don't know to say the biggest, you have to tell me, regret of your dad was the Andres ending relationship, probably?
I I know he regretted it. Yeah, I absolutely know he regretted it. What Dad admits to, uh, yeah, no, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, in the end, Dad did look back, and he knew it was hard on his children. All the traveling he did, the multiple marriages, uh, missing a lot of events. He did think about that. When my mom was dying in the hospital, he came and he regretted some of that, but he forgave himself after saying sorry. So it might have taken my dad 10, 20, 30, 40 years to come around to, I need to apologize, but he did. And yeah, because he always said he loved Andre like his son. So
Good.
you experience unbelievable things like that and hardships. I mean, what the media shows and what everybody sees is usually, somebody winning a tennis tournament and smiles on the face and holding up a trophy, but there's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of heartache that goes along with anything that's successful. Anybody that's successful, it's not just the tennis court. You give up a lot of things to be successful. You give up time with your family, time with your friends, what you enjoy. So it's, you're not just talking about, this is nothing new, but it's, Dad missed out. Dad, we talk about this in the family too, at least my sisters and I do. Dad did miss out on some things. People might look and say, but this, and all these opportunities. But in the end, when you're at your last days, weeks, months on earth, what do you think about? You think about your family and you think about your friends. You don't think about how many times you did this, and this. So many people, when they look at actors and athletes and that reach the highest, they forget that
Yeah.
those people missed out on things too. It's just
Yeah.
how life is.
Daniel, you think IMG Academy was, I don't know how to say, the word, use the word respectful, grateful, honoring Nick's, because he created the academy. At the end of the day, he sold it later. I know that, but how is, when you look at from outside right now, your dad passed. What do you, anything you want to say about his relationship with IMG?
Not really. I mean, there was somebody there in particular who was just wonderful and helped incredibly with my dad's celebration of life. There have been years there when Mark McCormick was there, wonderful. Treated my dad with a lot of respect. It was great. There were some years that were very hard. I will say that, and I won't name names. Can come, came full circle again with a particular person that was there for a few years. Really wonderful, helped so much, with my dad's celebration of life and organizing and making sure that, dad was respected. But there were some years there. But that, also had to do with a particular individual that was there. So, it's life. When the academy started, it was like way back, when they were living at when we were living at my dad's house, and then moved to the little hotel, and we're at the Colony Beach and Tennis Resort, which is now the St. Regis. It was like every star and moon and planet lined up perfectly, because the staff that was there was incredible. The kids that were there were incredible. The students, everything was great. It was hodgepodge. I mean, it was, they were winging it. We were lucky to eat a sandwich going from, school to the tennis courts. It was nothing like it is now with, you have to have this food, the kids have to have this much time in between. We would, be cramming down a sandwich in a bus going to the tennis courts, one or two sandwiches. It was nothing like now. But what was incredible was that, and nobody sued each other like they do now. So, you did whatever you could. Totally different now. But everything was like perfect then. My dad had this support system. It was crazy. The kids were awesome. I mean, what's another thing that I always talk about? And again, they think Nick Bollettieri and, all of his number ones, but the community that the original Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy students, you have no idea how close we are. I could pick up the telephone and I have so many people that would come to my rescue, so many people that would be supportive of me. Just incredible, this group. I do have a Facebook page. I'll tag you in that. It's a private group, Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy. Just awesome. And it is, people don't, we were so back then, of course everybody was extremely competitive because that's the way it was, but we didn't judge. We were open-minded. So many religions, so many nothing, none of that mattered. Now it's like, it's so hurtful to see nobody judged anybody. We were, again, crazy on the tennis court, but off court we all loved each other so much. We were all experiencing these things together. And again, I was not good. Sometimes I was put on the court with like Eric Carita and Jimmy Arias and them, and I get whacked with the ball. I was not good. I participated in everything. I did all the academy stuff, but the community, it is just incredible. I mean, I will say, and I will give myself a little plug. I'm gonna do, so we did a reunion about, oh my God, I think it was 2008, 2007, something like that. We have one scheduled for this December 5th through 7th. And this will be the last one that I organize. I might have to be changing the date because there's just so many, there's just not a big enough venue that's available. But it's this group that is just so incredible. And it's not just tennis players, it's not just the pro players, it's people that have gone on to do these incredible things in life, but incredible also being parents.
Yeah.
I never like to just say just mom and dad, because those just mom and dads, bring up kids for the next generation. But what so many of the Academy people, especially the originals, have become in life, just really awesome. And we all are in touch, and it's just a really wonderful community. And when you look back and you think of all the fun and the things that we did, I mean, we were not all angels either. And was we had so much fun, but it was an adventure, it was a journey, it was first times. Academies now are not like that. It doesn't matter how you try to be. My kid's father, he has the North Miami Beach Tennis Academy. It is awesome. Um, that mentality of having the main people who run the academy know every individual there, know every student, know their health issues, know what their educational background, how they're doing in school that day, what kind of player, their attitude. That's gone. Now these big humongous academies, they're different. You can never know every single kid who goes there, what their health issues are. And that's how it used to be. I mean, people who ran the academy back then knew everything. The coaches were awesome. Fritz Now, Gabe Jaramillo, Greg Brunick. I mean, everybody who ran those academies. Paul Forsyth, he's probably on here
He's
now.
there. He's there. Yeah.
Fritz Now. I mean, there were the coaches. They knew every single thing about the kids. And now these big academies, and I'm not naming, it's the way the world is. Now everything is, how much money people can make, how much tuition is. And of course, that's important. You have to. But those original years at the academy were just incredible.
Unique.
They were
Danielle, I'm wondering if Nick had any expectations about his children playing tennis in a high level, becoming professional. Who was the best player?
zero. He had zero.
Really?
He had zero expectations. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean,
who was the best tennis player among all of you?
well, so my brother never played competitively. He does coach. He still coaches. He's awesome.
Jimmy, he called it Jimmy Boy, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Boy, and he's affiliated with my kid's dad down in Miami, North Miami Beach, and he also does privates down there. So he didn't play competitively. I played competitively and lived at the academy. My other sister, Angel, lived with my mom in Cincinnati. She played high school tennis. And then my younger brothers, they don't play tennis. They've chosen other sports. And then my sister Alex didn't play tennis. So I was really the only one, and I was not.
But
I mean, I
but
played.
Danielle, because it's hard for he was very busy coaching, thousand, 100 kids. Do you think that has something to do that he was very busy, not able to really dedicate more time on his children,
No,
or not really?
no,
Oh, okay.
no, I don't think so, because if I had had the talent for it, but I was a little lazy too. I participated. I lived at the academy. I did everything that all the academy kids did. I was just a basic player. And then when I went to college, that wasn't anything I wanted to pursue. I took the other way, and the way Dad did. He didn't volunteer himself, but he gave a lot. And I went, I did a lot of volunteering in my day, so I kind of took it the other way. But no, Dad, that's one thing. Dad, first of all, I only remember one time in my entire life Dad yelling at me. He didn't yell. He did not pressure any of us for what we wanted to do in college, what we wanted to study, what we wanted to do as career. He was very supportive. Not
Mm.
ever anything. I mean, I was yelled at to move my feet on the tennis court, but no,
Yeah, but
nothing.
your daughters are really good.
My two daughters are good, yeah. And Willa Bay went to St. John's in New York City. Great school, D1. She's a really good college player. She was a really good college player. Great as a junior. She got injured, unfortunately, had a knee accident on court. But super, super player. She was a scrapper, could hit anything. Dad loved that. She could get to anything. And Dad coached them early on, starting at a very early age. And one of my kids, and Addie's a good college player. She still goes to Flagler. She decided her senior year not to do tennis, but both really good. But and Dad taught them from an early age. But when you start kids at an early age, they're not out there hitting. They're out there with basically their bathing suit bottoms on, no tennis shoes, no bathing suit top. One of my kids liked one of those huge fans blowing on them, being taught. They would write their names on the clay court. So Dad was funny, but as they got better over the years, he could be tough on them, but tough still in a pop grandfather kind of way.
Awesome. What a wonderful stories. So how do you find your dad, Danielle, in just 3 or 4 words? What would you say about him? Exactly, using precise words.
Oh, geez. Well, he actually asked me to do this once for a book for
Oh,
him.
nice.
Like
I didn't know that.
and then I ended up writing like literally about 12 type pages. So, I don't even know. I mean, charismatic, unique, charismatic, unique, different. There's not. I could probably come up with 50, 60, 70 more pages of that. I don't know. He was definitely one of a kind. Um, he knew he was one of a kind. There was just some things that can't be replicated. Dad, I'm a lot like my dad in some ways. Hopefully, not the 8 marriage ways. Um, I'm I live on 4 hours of sleep, just like my dad. Uh, I am high energy. I I don't give up. I think you can start from scratch. You start your life over if you want to. You can do that. Dad was very positive about that. And he did have to pick himself up by the shoestrings a couple of times when he would find himself at the end of a marriage having to start financially again. And all of his friends know that. Um, Dad was quite a unique character, and those don't always come around. So I don't know. Does that kind of sum it up a little bit?
Oh, fantastic. And you said at the beginning the legacy. You talk about my last question. You answered already about the legacy. But the legacy for, let me ask you this, the legacy for us, tennis coaches. You talk about the legacy for the players,
Yeah.
the people, but how about the legacy from Mr. Nick Bollettieri for all of us tennis coaches?
Okay, well, I'm not a tennis coach, but you know what I think Dad would say? I don't actually even think it's about winning. I think it's about being happy and doing what you want. And he was pretty darn adamant at the end. He learned this is that there is way too much pressure put on kids these days, often on the court, way, way too much, whether it's on school or athletics or on what somebody looks like. That's not important. He always would say, do your best. And I think that, maybe that is something that coaches and parents need to remember. Do your best. Do your best is not winning. Most of the time it's not winning. That's that percent, Daniel. It's like this big. Winning, especially, I think that's what it would be. It would be, just do your best and be happy. Yeah.
Okay, and to wrap up this wonderful time, Danielle, and thank you so much once again. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, fun.
Because I want to listen. Any advice to junior players who are dreaming to become champions one day?
I would say do a lot of other things besides your sport. That's what I would say because, you know, there are so many things out there that are just wonderful, and including nature and animals. Don't just focus on your sport. There are so many other things that can make you happy, and it makes the sport better for you if you're happier and you're doing other things and not just giving everything to one thing. I think that's just my 2 cents. And I probably would have done that differently with my kids too, is I wouldn't have spent so many weekends going to tournaments. I would have liked to have thrown them in a VW bus and just traveled all over the United States teaching them things. But, in my next life.
You will. We will have, and for parents, specifically, you're running now a talk about for tennis parents of junior players, obsessed with the rankings, the training behind the fences, yelling, screaming to the kids.
Yeah, lay off. Lay off. I used to bring a book and sit like 30 feet away from the court. I would read my book. I just, that's a big thing with me. Be nice to your kids. Be nice. Childhood is a really, really short time.
And would you like to see one of your daughters becoming a tennis coach?
Actually, Willa Bay just finished her job up at the Peninsula in New York City, and she's in North Miami working for her dad right now at the North Miami Beach Tennis Academy. Kind of in between, she's studying her real estate as well, and her best friend is Lulu's son, who's a top rising player. So she may do a little something with Lulu. Both my kids love Lulu. Lulu is like my third daughter. I love her. And her mom is one of my best friends. So, I coached a little in my dad's summer camps. I loved it. So she's down there doing that with her dad right now for a short time, but still.
And what is waiting for you the rest of the day today?
I'm going to work out again with Eileen. And we're going to do a podcast. And then I'm going to hop in the car and drive to Miami and see my daughter and my brother, Jimmy Boy.
Wow, you drive a lot.
I drive all the time. Bless your
Yeah.
heart. You were patient. You were patient with me because I was always like, I'm driving to Orlando. I'm doing this.
Last one. When you see a tennis ball, what do you feel? What are you thinking? What do you feel?
That's funny. I think of the humongous bruise that Eric Carita, when he hit a serve and it hit me in the leg, and I was on the court with Jimmy Arias, Eric Carita, can't remember who else, at my dad's summer camp in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, which was awesome and great. But that's what I just thought about when you showed me that ball. I had a bruise this big on my leg. He's like 6'4", and I was on the same tennis court as him.
Danielle, thank you so much.
You.
I love it. I had a great time, and it's going to be uploaded on my YouTube channel in the next few hours.
Okay, perfect.
So you can share it later. I'm going to share the link. Thank you, and I hope we will meet soon.
Okay, me too. Bye, Danielle.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.